Hello, welcome to the Field Tasking Manager. In the previous video, I showed you how to create an organization. Now I have successfully done that. Let's pretend the admin authorized the organization and I've now joined as a manager. Now when I log in to the homepage of Field TM, a new button will appear, a new project button to enable you to create new projects for your organization. So if I click that, this is a multi-stage form for creating projects in FieldTM. So we have found this process has not changed very much from the earlier stages of FieldTM. Something that we realized quite early on is that most users of FieldTM are mappers at the end of the day. Let's just say 90%. So we've really tried to focus on honing the mapping experience. Um, the project creation and manager experience is far from perfect for now, but we have definitely heard your feedback on this, and it's something in the roadmap in the near future for us to improve upon. But now I will be just explaining the process as it is currently, as of May 2025. So to get started, you create your project name, enter a description. This could be useful for people wanting to know what the project is for. The short description will appear on the homepage as part of the summarized project card. The longer description can have your full details for the project, including links and so on. If you have only joined one organization, which will be the case most of the time, this will be pre-selected for you and you're unable to change this setting. So I'm currently only the admin for the Hot2SM organization, so that's already done. Now, similarly to the organization creation, it's possible to enter custom ODK Central credentials. Now, for most users, you don't really need to think about this, particularly if you requested to use the hot instance of ODK. All of this will just be handled for you. So just keep this checked by default to use the organization's credentials. If you entered custom credentials during organization creation, then these credentials will be used by keeping this box checked. In the third scenario, when you want to use again a specific ODK Central server for this specific project, you can uncheck this box and enter your details. But in this case, I won't do that. So by default, you will be a manager of this project as an organization manager. You have all of the permissions that a project manager would have for the project. However, you may wish to assign specific project managers that have the access to modify the project and potentially, add new users and so on. And you can delegate those tasks depending on your organization hierarchy. So you may wish to click here and search for. So once you have searched for and assigned potential project managers, the next step is to add hashtags. So by default, we add 2 hashtags to the project anyway. One denotes the instance of the field tasking manager being used, so the domain, and the specific project ID. You may have other tags. Here I'll just add a demo tag, but you can add any tags that you wish. And these will be included in any change sets uploaded to OpenStreetMap as part of the final steps of the project at the end. So this question is very specific to users that may be doing the full, say, end-to-end workflow, where they have collected base imagery or they have some high resolution satellite imagery that they wish to map with. So in this case, you can add a link to that imagery, potentially from OpenAerialMap. So say the user had a drone tasking manager project, they collected imagery, uploaded, and made it available here. So you can specify the URL to that imagery if you wish to create base maps for your users in FieldTM. I won't be using that for now. So The instructions here are purely for the mappers in the field. So the mappers will see on a tab available in the mapping application these instructions written in Markdown format. So there's very good documentation online available for how to write Markdown, but all of the Markdown standards are supported here. So headings, for example, bullet points, you can upload images, add hyperlinks, and so on. So you can make this quite a rich set of instructions for your users. Now, the project type selection, in general, we wish for users to create public data, particularly uploading to OpenStreetMap, but we do appreciate that in many cases this isn't feasible. There may be some sensitive contexts where the data must be kept private. So in those scenarios, we do give the option to create private projects, although generally this is not preferred. So I'll select public for now. Now this final option is actually a reasonably new feature we added. As many of you may know, we just released quite a big update to the Field Tasking Manager in the form of web forms. So web forms allow for the user to seamlessly map in FieldTM without having to context switch between different applications. They don't need to know about ODK or use custom applications and so on. So the user can just map in the form in FieldTM and then continue. If you wish to use the old workflow, which involved scanning QR codes, switching to ODK Collect, going back to FieldTM, which may be valid for some use cases, we do still provide that option here, just with a checkbox. But in most cases, I would recommend not using this. Now we're at the point where we need to select where we want to collect our data. And there is the option to just simply draw on the map if you have a very basic requirement. Most users probably have a slightly more complex boundary that they wish to map. So uploading a GeoJSON file is probably most appropriate. So here I'm just going to select a GeoJSON that I made before for an area in Kathmandu in Nepal. So the area is 16 kilometers squared. So we go next. This is the step of the project creation where you specify the questions that you wish to ask your user, so the actual survey that they'll fill out on their phone. This is using a specification called XLS forms that was developed by the ODK team. We heavily use a lot of ODK's work underneath, as you can see a common theme here. So there's, again, very good documentation online for how to write your own custom XLS form to write any form of survey that you may wish. By default, we provide two simple survey options that you can just download and get mapping with immediately. They're very OpenStreetMap centric, as you can see, so collecting buildings and healthcare data. So in both cases, you need to upload the survey XLS form here by clicking this. If you wish to use one of our existing forms, then you can select from the drop down and click download form. This will download to your device, for which you can then either upload your custom form or upload the form, in this case the one that I just downloaded. This will run a check to ensure that the form is actually valid. If there's any errors, then you'll be blocked at this point and you'll need to fix your form. Okay, so the next step is about the data that you wish to collect the information for. So there's three types of data that you could be collecting. Here you need to select whether you want to collect polygons, so say building outlines. In many cases you may just want to collect points, so points of interest. You may be mapping, say, drainage covers in a city, or you may even just be mapping the center point of each building being mapped, for a simpler workflow without having to trace entire polygons. So in this case, I'm going to select polygons. It could be possible to use a mix of geometry types, and by that we mean the existing geometries, maybe say from OpenStreetMap. They may be polygon building outlines. But to simplify the workflow in the field for the users, you may wish them to collect any new geometries encountered as simply points. So you can click this and say, I wanted the users to draw new geometries. Just click on the area on the map, and you can then work things out from there. You can also specify, the default without this would be for them to draw polygons to match the geometry type that you are collecting. The final type would be lines, say for road surveys and so on. So at this step, this is where you actually upload the data or download the data from OpenStreetMap that you wish to map. We could just upload, for example, a GeoJSON that I prepared earlier. Again, the same area. So here we have 689 features to be mapped that you can see displayed on the map. Now, another way to do this could be to actually just download the data from OpenStreetMap from whatever is available. First, I just need to clear that. In order to use this functionality, you actually had to make sure that in the previous step, you selected a category for the type of feature you wish to download. We may look at changing this workflow as it's not very intuitive, but this is just a note to say if you want to download building data, you have to have selected OpenStreetMap buildings. Now on this step, when I click Fetch OSM data, this will grab the most recent data from OpenStreetMap. And as you can see, since I last took the snapshot of the uploaded data, the custom extract I uploaded, a lot more buildings have been added, say about 70 more. For uploading custom data, it should be noted that ways to generate that data, you can obviously just download it from here, but you could also use HotOSM's export tool and various other means to get a GeoJSON output of features that you wish to map. Now, the final setting here I won't really cover in detail, but this was a specific case where users wish to map two features that were associated. So in the field, they had to map a building, but then also map the road that the building was on. So in this case, you could upload a supporting data set, for example, a set of roads in the area, that could then be used in the survey for mapping a pair of geometries together. But that's quite a niche requirement that most users probably don't need. So here we go next, and the final step is splitting into task areas. Now, in many cases, for example, we've had examples where users don't wish to map any existing geometries. That's something that I didn't actually mention on this step. You can click no existing data just to map entirely new data from scratch. In that case, you may just wish to use the AOI as the main task area. You have a single task and you don't really care about splitting up the task amongst users. So this is how you can use the uploaded AOI, whether that was a multi-polygon or a single polygon, as your actual task areas. You may have, for example, generated your task areas in advance using a tool like QGIS, and you just wish to use the pre-divided areas that you've made. So this is the simplest option here. Now, the more tasking manager way to split an area would be dividing by square. Here you can see in a field context, this isn't ideal. For example, this task here at the bottom is split between the river. So the user would actually have to map on one side of the river, then move to the other, all within the same task area, which isn't very efficient. So as a result, we have made a third option called the task splitting algorithm. And this allows you to split based on various criteria. We have yet to add many options to this, but they may come in future. The main criteria that we have here is the average number of buildings per task that you may wish. So in an example use case here, say a user could feasibly map 10 buildings per day. You may wish an average of 10 buildings to be assigned per task, so that you could assign a task area to each user to map within a day. So I'll click to generate on an average of 10 buildings per task, and this will generate the best scenario based on many criteria. For example, splitting on the major features such as rivers, major highways, and so on, but also trying its best to subdivide the features into the specified number of features per task. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can click submit, and you should have a functional project on FieldTM.